In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to quickly and efficiently create the side rail subassembly using bodies and mirrors. The side rail is joined to the leg using a haunched mortise and tenon joint. Now, this joint occurs 4 places in this project, but what we're going to do, we're going to do it in such a way that we only actually have to draw it once. So I'm going to change my view because we want to work on this inside face of the front left leg. So we're going to create a new sketch. And we're going to work off this face, and I'll zoom right into it. Okay, so the first thing I need is a rectangle, and I'm just going to draw it up on here somewhere. So I've left click up the top, drag out, and I want this first number here to be 125, then tab, and you'll see up the top there, it's 23.561 now. I want to use the material thickness parameter for that. So there's the user parameter. Press enter. There we go. That's just zoomed off the screen a little bit. Okay, so you can see I've got these blue lines here, so it's not fully constrained yet. Now this is the outside face of the leg, and what I want is I want this rail to sit 3 millimeters back from the outside face of the leg. So keyboard shortcut the letter D, and I'm just going to put in a dimension there of 3 millimeters. There we go. Okay, now before I go any further, I'm going to start just sketching up the dimensions of the actual haunched mortise and tenon joint, because basically what I can do is, using the same sketch, I can create both the mortise and the tenon. Okay, so another rectangle, and I want to avoid sort of creating any midpoint parameters, constraints on here, so I'm just going to sort of stay away from that. I'm just going to drag out. Okay, so you'll see that top number there. I want that to be 9. Press tab, and this second number is 119. Enter. Okay, and now what I want is I want this to always sit in the middle of this first rectangle that I've drawn. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a midpoint constraint. So I'll click on there, and I'm going to click on, I'll come in close so you can see what's going on. I'm just going to make sure I've got this short line. So I'm going to click on that. Then I'm going to move out here so I can see that longer line. There you go. Now that sits in the middle there. So what it means is I can change, it's a bit of a mess up here, but I can change these dimensions, but this will always sit in the middle, which is what I want. Okay, there is just one more dimension that I want, and that's to create the haunch component. So I'll press escape again, L for line. I'll come in nice and close. I just want a horizontal line going across the middle there. D for dimension. So from the top down to that line, I want that to be 10 millimeters. Okay, so we'll just zoom out just so we can make sure that everyone's got everything the same. A little bit messy up the top here. So our material thickness is 19 mil. We want our mortise and tenon to be 9 millimeters thick, 3 millimeters set back in from the side. Our horizontal line 10 millimeters down. Our material is 125 millimeters wide, and we want our tenon and our mortise to be 119 millimeters down from the top. Okay, so when we've got all that, we can finish that sketch. Okay, so while we're here and we can see the leg, we might as well create the mortise. So we'll go extrude. The first one up here, this will become very clear to you how a haunch, mortise and tenon works. So this first one is going to go back into the leg minus 10 millimeters. Now it's snapped to that, got cut there, so that's correct. We go OK. Now you'll see our sketch has disappeared. Over here, what you'll see is a little sketches menu. You can open that up, and just by default, when you're not actually sketching anything, it tends to make them disappear. But we want this final sketch to turn back on. There we go. All right, now we want to go again. So want this central section here. And again, this one is going to be minus 22. All right, now make that sketch disappear and then we can orbit around and have a look at our haunched mortise. Now, again, when I orbit, I'm just going to press escape. There's two orbits. There's a constrained orbit and a free orbit. I tend to find constrained orbit works a bit better on the screen. All right, so we've got that done. Now, what I want to do, I'll just press escape again. I want to turn that sketch back on, and then I'm going to hide this leg. I don't want to see this leg anymore. So I'm going to create our side rail, or at least I'm going to create half of the side rail. So again, it's an extrude. And what I want to do here is I want to actually select all of this. So I'm going to go around. I'm just going to now press shift. So I'm going to add to the selection. And I want to drag all this out. Now I know the side rail is 300 millimeters long, but I'm going to drag it out 150. And you might start to work out what I'm doing here. The operation here, I want this to be a new body, not a new component and not joined to anything. Okay, so I want this to be a new body. So I'll just press OK. All right, so I've got half a side rail. Now I'm going to orbit around. I mean, I could use my tool up here, pan down, come in close, and now I'm going to create the opposite of what I've created before. So extrude, and we're going to go out this way. Now, for whatever reason, it does it in minus. It doesn't matter. I'm basically adding to it, and the operation you want is join. So we've gone out 10 millimeters. Then, if you can remember, this next one is going to be 22. So in this case, I've got to write minus 22. As long as I've got that as join. There we go. So we've now got half a side rail. Now this is where the power of thinking geometrically comes into play here. So I'm going to go to create, mirror, and I'm going to mirror not components. I'm going to mirror bodies. So I'll select the body, and you can also see up here this has appeared, body 1. Now I said before, a component is something that would exist in the real world. Well, the reality is this is a body because this is not really something that would exist in the real world. It's only half of it. Okay, so I've selected that. The next thing I want to select is the mirror plane. So I'll go there. Now the mirror plane is around the back here. So I'm just going to change my view a little bit, hover over, select on that surface there, and there you can see it's mirrored it. Now my operation here is I want join, okay? Not new body. So make sure it's join, go okay. So now what I've got is I now have a full side rail, and it's duplicated this geometry here. So what I can do now, because that is now finished and I don't really need to do anything more with this, is I can select this body, right click, and create component from the body. And so there it is there. So now what I'll do is I'll just quickly rename that, and I'm going to call that side rail. So we've got our side rail. I can now unhide the leg, and you can see how that fits into it perfectly. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to pan up a little bit, is we right back at the beginning when we set this up, we actually made everything off the center, and you're going to see right now why that is useful. So I'll just press escape. So again, I'm going to create a mirror. And in this case, I'm going to change it to components. And what I want to do is I want to mirror this leg here. So I'll select it, and the mirror plane, I can now use these planes as my mirror planes. Now, you saw before that you can use other surfaces as mirror planes, and you can also create construction planes as well. But this just saves that step. So we select the mirror plane, and there you go. So I go okay, and now you can see, go back to the home. I'll turn that sketch off. You can see where we started this tutorial. We've now got an entire side assembly complete. Now, Later on, we're going to mirror this again to the other side, but what we need to do in the next tutorial is create the unique joinery on the front leg and the back leg. And that's why I've done it in this order, because basically now when I create the unique joinery on the front leg, I can mirror that across, and on the back leg, I can mirror that across. So it becomes a very efficient way of doing things.